Imagine this metaphor. We're trapped in a cave, and the entrance to that cave caved in on us. We're trapped. We're trapped in the ancient civilization for 3,000 years, and we're hopelessly just chipping away at that wall, trying to free ourselves, trying to get out. But today I'm going to tell you what I consider perhaps the greatest breakthrough of conscious man. I'm going to tell you how that collapsed wall, how we can get rid of that and walk free. We have 2 million people in this Neothane Club, this private Neothane Club. Of those, you here today, you're the cream of the crop. You're the 300 from the movie 300.
Yeah.
That's you.
Right.
I watched it the other day.
So cool.
So with
Thank
that
you.
in mind, today I want to talk to you about what we can do to go to battle. Okay, so let's roll. So last month, it was my debut meeting with you, and I revealed, if you remember, the hidden problem holding back individuals and holding back civilization. I mean, think about it. We went down to the biological reason we're being held back. It even goes below the psychological reasons of laziness and dishonesty. It goes down to the biological, underneath it all, reason that we're held back. And what is that reason? Well, I know you're all muted, but it's the following mode. And it's been like a chain that links back to the bicameral civilization, and the chain has never been broken. And this is what you, my 300, along with me, we're going to go and break that chain. I'm going to show you how today. So last month, I told you what the problem is, the root problem. This month, I'm going to tell you what the solution is and how we're going to solve that problem. So last month, we talked about the 2,000 to 3,000 year passing down generation after generation. I talked about how we, as babies, before we even had the choice to be honest or dishonest, to exert effort or to be lazy, before that, we mimicked our parents. We mimicked our older siblings. We mimicked the world around us. And that's our initial introduction to our consciousness, to our minds. When our minds were waking up, that's what we did. We mimicked. We had learned mimic reactions, which put us in the following mode. Now, as we grew up and became older, we didn't break out of the following mode. Most of civilization, to varying degrees, people have, but for the most part, most of civilization is caught in this following mode. I call it the scourge of mankind. And it's quite obvious if you look around and you see the external authorities we live under, the following mode, the acceptance of a ruling class above us. Well, you know, when civilization has is living in a following mode, what happens? Well, these leaders who like to take the shortcut to wealth and power, unearned wealth and power, they oblige and they step right in as our leaders, our politicians, our regulatory bureaucrats, the dishonest media, all these external authorities out there that are controlling our lives and suppressing civilization. Hey, it's on us. They oblige, and civilization is in the following mode. This is what we need to break. So pointing out and verbally attacking, though, the dishonest politicians, the dishonest media, well, this is really ironic. They welcome that. This is something I had to struggle with to figure out. They welcome that. They welcome who we consider our heroes out there who are fighting against the ruling class, the evil politicians. They welcome it. And why is that? Because that is their wheelhouse. They gladly invite you in because that's the game they've always played. It's their games, their rules. They'll use their millennia-old skills, using their illusions, their doublespeak. I mean, they're masters at this. They're an initiatory force. Those are their effective weapons. So they welcome the people who we consider our heroes, who are fighting against them. The influencers on the internet these days, I look at them and I say, wow, that guy's really good. He's really pointing out the problem of the ruling class, or this guy's really good, or that radio DJ, that talk show host, they're great, but they never really make headway. Here's what happens. We'll take a step forward toward a more free society, a more business-like society, but then lo and behold, we take 2 steps backwards. I mean, think about it. Just a few years ago, we really felt like we were moving into a more free environment, less regulatory restrictions on us, a more business-friendly environment. But then look at us today. It's almost worse than it was before we got that more free environment. And all of civilization for all of history has been stuck under a ruling class. There's never been a real serious threat to the parasitical elite class. So this is something we need to be aware of, and there needs to be another way. And this is what I'm going to teach you today, the other way. But think about it, all throughout history, of 100 billion people who have walked the earth, there's never been a civilization without a ruling class, a political class, we'll call it. The closest we ever came to that was early America, but we still had a ruling class. We still have a ruling class today. Some of you have read in Inside Mark's Mind, I get into this a little bit, about our founding fathers and how close they came to having the prime law, to removing initiatory force. They came this close. And the reason I say that is because they were all well-read in John Locke, Lockean natural law. So they were very close, but they were under enormous pressures. We had the war. We lost many able-bodied men. Our country was in debt. It was falling apart. The Articles of Confederation could no longer hold the colonies together. We did develop, or we put forth a constitution, a U.S. Constitution, but then there was resentment and people fighting against that because they felt the Federalists felt one way, the Anti-Federalists felt another way. Too much centralized power. We need more power back in the states and to individual citizens. So things were falling apart, and they basically put together, and I know this as a writer, how you need time to let ideas evolve and mature in your head. They didn't have that time. So they put forth the Bill of Rights. Every one of our founding fathers who worked on the Bill of Rights were skeptical of the Bill of Rights. Thomas Jefferson said, it's better to have half a loaf than no loaf at all. But he was very skeptical and struggled with doing a Bill of Rights. James Madison initially did not want the Bill of Rights, but eventually he was, with the help of Thomas Jefferson, pulled along, and they put forth the Bill of Rights with a lot of skepticism. People don't realize that because they think, wow, the Bill of Rights is the great beacon of freedom around the world, particularly the First Amendment. But with rights comes something else. And now we see the problem today, how rights are destroying America. We have rights for this group, rights for that group, rights for this gender, rights for that. We have DEI mandates and regulations and ESG and rights, and rights are destroying America. The founding fathers missed, they came so close to the prime law, and that would have been, we would have had the sea of you on earth today had they made that one just little deeper integration, that you don't add the positive, you remove the negative. And of course, you all know the negative being initiatory force. That's the foundation of the prime law. So we missed that, unfortunately. So we've never had, we came so close, and we came so close that that's why America became the great envy of the world. It became the most prosperous, freest country. I mean, the melting pot. Everyone wanted to be in America because the opportunity here. That's what happens when you move away from a political class and move toward a business class. Um, a lot of people have a knee-jerk reaction, a negative knee-jerk reaction to business. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Those of you who go to my YouTube channel see what I'm doing there. With my shorts, I'm not trying to explain everything. I can explain everything to you, but to people out there, I can't do that. It's too overwhelming. So they get these sort of little non-integrating pieces. What I'm doing is I'm putting together little pieces. And as time goes on my YouTube channel, those pieces will begin snapping together. As you'll see, my upcoming shorts are going to be longer and more integrated, because now I can pull together 2 or 3 or 4 pieces at once instead of one piece. And this is the process of going public. It's a process. It's a process of building that puzzle on my YouTube channel and on social media in general. It's a process. And I start off with the pieces and begin to build them and begin to pull them together. In 2 or 3 days, I want you to keep going to my YouTube channel. I had my first podcast yesterday with my son, Wallace Hamilton. And we'll be putting that up in, I'd say probably, what do you say, 2 or 3 days? Okay, he wants us to give him a week so he can do his editing. I was just talking to Wallace here. So I'm going to try to get it up there before a week, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But you'll see in that podcast, I'm bringing together several pieces. I'm laying out what a business system world would be like, as opposed to everything we've ever known is a political system world. It is a new dimension. I've always said that, but it's time to start presenting that to the public. So there's never been, as I said, a civilization without a ruling class, without a political system. But the human race could never go there. Why? You got it, the following mode, because we all live with the following mode. And if a civilization lives with the following mode, they're going to be oh too happy to become our leaders. So let me pause here, and I want to dissect what I just said. The following mode of civilization enables, I'll go even deeper, I'll say causes the opposite and equal reaction to lead. They oblige to lead us. That's the opposite and equal reaction. They oblige to lead us. This is a classic cause and effect dynamic. The cause is our following mode. The effect is the parasitical ruling class that sits above us, taking full advantage of our following mode. So cutting through here to what is, that parasitical class sits above us because we put them there. We don't realize that because the parasitical ruling class has been so embedded in society since the beginning. But now let me ask you, what else has been embedded in mankind since the beginning? Our following mode, embedded in us since our bicameral days and the dawning of our consciousness. So are you beginning to see what's going on here? The destructive parasitical ruling class is on us. It's on us. Let that sink in for a moment. It's rather shocking. I know it was shocking to me when I pulled it all together. Everyone complains about our ruling class, but it's on us. Now that's unsettling, isn't it? I mean, it's disturbing, right? Now, as unsettling as that feels, this understanding can open the wall of external authority that collapsed before us and trapped mankind in the anti-civilization since the beginning of consciousness. Imagine this metaphor. We're trapped in a cave, and the entrance to that cave caved in on us. And there's rocks and boulders and dirt, and we're trapped. We're trapped in the ancient civilization for 3,000 years, and we're hopelessly just chipping away at that wall, trying to free ourselves, trying to get out. And we have heroes who we look at. Nowadays, those can be influencers on the internet who are going out there, big heroes or radio DJs, talk show hosts, and they remove a boulder and we cheer for them and we vote for them. But then more just collapses down. Like I told you, it's the external authorities' game. It's their system. They will allow us all we want to chip away or to try to remove the boulders, because another executive order will come down, or another anti-energy regulation will drop down, and they'll just keep dropping down, and we can't get out. We're stuck. We're in the anti-civilization. There's no way out. But today I'm going to tell you what I consider perhaps the greatest breakthrough of conscious man. I'm going to tell you how that collapsed wall, how we can get rid of that and walk free. So I hope you're ready for what I'm going to teach you today. You're trapped in this anti-civilization. You're locked in by that wall of politicians and subjective laws and regulations and the media, and yes, by all those external authorities. It's just like there's no way out. And I've read on comments on my YouTube channel, some people saying, wow, Mark, I finally feel like maybe in my lifetime there's going to be a way out. I always thought I'd be in the anti-civilization till the day I die, but now that I see you going public, maybe there's a way out. There is a way out. And you're going to be my 300 who go out there and start this way out. But I myself, for the longest time, thought, yeah, it's going to be after I'm gone, after I'm no longer here. I've set the pieces, and my father has set the pieces in place, but it will be the next generation and the next generation to make this happen. But I think we can get there sooner than that. In fact, this is the whole reason that I've gone public. Like I said, for 45 years, my first book I published back in 1979. That's 45 years ago. And everything I've done since then has been toward this goal of freeing us from this anti-civilization. But what I realize is my books, it does talk about dealing with civilization as a whole, but it's by me having a private NeoThink club, and people could get my books by invite only through my letters. And I searched the world for searchers like you, and I found them. I found 2 million searchers in 140 countries in 12 different languages. I found them. I got them. And like I said, you are the top. But here's the problem of a private NeoThink club. I'm working on the individual level. This is a 2-level thing here. You have the individuals, and I work with you in the NeoThink club with my letters and my books. But then there's another whole level that we must deal with now, and this is why I'm going public at 65 years of age. This other level is not dealing with individuals, helping individuals. It's helping civilizations as a whole, civilizations. I write about the way out in my literature, in the prime literature, you know, the prime law and so on. But we must come out and reach out to the masses now to get civilization, to get everybody, to get people who are not searchers, right? I've got the searchers, but now we must get everybody. So this is where we're going here today. Let me just look around in my notes, make sure I'm not missing anything here before we dive into that. Yeah, I say our heroes are not going to free us. They've tried. They've done a great job. I mean, and when we lose a hero, as we did last year, it breaks my heart. But I realize people can devote their entire lives to this and not free us. It's going to take what I'm going to teach you today to free us from the anti-civilization. All right, so our heroes have been approaching this in a conventional manner. Like I said, just going up against them, showing a lot of courage and so on. But there's no way out unless we discover this unconventional approach. Here's the approach. Sounds mystical at first. We're going to close our eyes and realize the rocks, the external authorities trapping us, are all an illusion. When we open our eyes again, lo and behold, the rocks are gone and we walk out free. Now I'm going to teach you how to start this wave that's going to sweep over the world. So let me make that metaphor to our real world. So all of us are in this political system, the system that human beings have always lived in, exists under a ruling class dependent upon force. Our ruling class couldn't be there without initiatory force, right? If our founding fathers had just made that final integration, that Lockean natural law final integration, which is the prime law, there would be no force there. We would have lived in a business system for the past 240 years. And the prosperity of our civilizations today, you can't even fathom it. I have some idea of what it would have been like, what it would be like, but it's just incredible. But this is our job to get us there now. So as logical as a force-free civilization may seem to someone just on the surface, seems to you, my advanced neo-thinkers, those in the following mode can't even conceive of it. So when you realize from my first talk last month that everyone is born into the following mode, you realize why the other system, the world free of initiatory force, the business system, never was conceived. For everyone tacitly accepts the initiatory force for leadership control of the masses. And they fulfill their role, their service to the following mode, humanity. So if you understand that and deeply understand we no longer need external authorities, then you realize the wall of rocks, the need for external authorities is just an illusion. And illusions can be vanished. So let me say that again. I see you nodding, Alicia. Illusions, thumbs up, can be vanished. An entirely new force-free system, never conceived by following mode humanity, it does exist. And once we step into that new system that I lay out for us in the New World under the Daniel section, then the rocks are gone, the illusion vanishes, and we're free. So let's tackle that method to do this. The method is counterintuitive. In fact, the process is the opposite of our heroes that we have all admired all over the decades who stand up to the external authorities. It's the opposite. Instead of slamming our picks against the rocks, instead, we just back away, sit down, close our eyes, and imagine being outside our trap. Imagine the new world. Imagine life in that new system. But you must know that new system in order to imagine it, and you all do know that new system. but you're going to have to get people you know to know this. So as more and more people imagine and fully conceptualize the new system of no force, they'll let go of their deeply rooted need for leaders. First, you'll get apathy. Then you'll get distrust, distaste. Their deeply rooted dependence on external authorities will begin to just vanish like that wall of rocks. Removing the following mode dependence is the only approach to truly freeing humankind from the parasitical ruling class. So instead of bitterly complaining about and even challenging our politicians, our news anchors, big tech, with their control of our minds and our children's minds, and I could go on, harmful teachers in school, professors, socialist professors, big bureaucracies, big pharma, and so on. The only escape from all of that is the opposite of challenging them. Counterintuitive, right? It's the opposite of challenging them. It's escaping from our deep-rooted following mode and simply withdrawing from external authorities. That's it. When we get civilizations, remember, my 2 million members in my Neothink Club, I work with my readers on a one-on-one basis, individual basis. Now it's time for us to work with entire civilizations. It's time for us to get in the non-searchers as well. So ironically, as I said, the ruling class is just happy to have influencers and talk show hosts and to challenge them and attack them. It's their system. It's their wheelhouse. They know how to handle them. That's why, you know, in politics, the more corrupt and powerful politicians are, the more they know how to handle their little, you know, little oppositions. They handle them. It's their system. It's their wheelhouse. So here's what we need to do ourselves, and then I'm going to show you how to do this with others. We need to exorcise our following mode spell. Well, now that strikes fear in their hearts because their power is truly not earned power. It's an illusion. Remember, I said illusions can be vanished. It is unearned power that depends on our following mode. It's just that simple. Their power, those politicians, that ruling class that's suppressing us, their power is unearned power. Remember back in Neotech, always a discussion between earned power versus unearned power. This is unearned power. We have earned power. The people will become leaders and powerful people by providing innovative breakthrough products that benefit mankind. That's real power, the Elon Musks, the Steve Jobs. But we have the unearned power, our politicians and bureaucrats and the dishonest media. That's unearned power. They just took the lazy, easy route to take advantage of our following mode. It's that simple. By exercising our following mode, we no longer intellectually or emotionally fit in their system. We're no longer in their system, and that strikes fear in their hearts. We are free of their system. We intellectually and emotionally leave behind thus we stop supporting the system, their system, the political system. We no longer need them. And as I said, that strikes fear in their hearts like nothing else ever had. All the talk shows hosts, all the radio talk show hosts, all the influencers that go up against them, they handle them. But withdrawing our support because we no longer have the following mode, now that strikes fear in them. Their gig is up starting today, right here with us. Their gig is up. Remember, their system is built on one big illusion. What's their illusion? That they benefit us. That's their illusion, benefiting us. And you and I know they do not benefit us, but that's the illusion. When we lose the following mode, when we get all of civilization, including the non-searchers, to lose the following mode, well, then we no longer need them. Remember, they're there because we need them. It's on us. It's on us why they are there. But taking this unconventional approach, removing the following mode, breaking the chain, we don't need them anymore. And their illusion vanishes. And there goes away that wall of rocks and dirt, and we walk free into the sea of you. But without exercising the following mode, the illusion, it just gets ever more nuanced, their false power. Let me explain. Many, if not most people, see the ruling class's harm and destruction, but they still have their built-in following mode. So they're just looking for other leaders who are better, not so bad, in their opinion, to replace them. But they still need and they seek their leaders, their external authorities. So you see what's happening here? We go through cycle after cycle, as I said earlier. We take one step forward, and we take 2 steps backwards. In America, since its beginning, we see how many steps backward we have gone, and we realize, oh, yeah, this is 1 step, 2 step, 1 step, 2 step, 1 step, 2 step, and we're losing America. We go cycle after cycle and varying external authorities. Hey, this one's a little better than that one. I'm going to vote for this one. You've seen on my YouTube channel, I keep saying I'm the anti-politics. Well, people don't really know what that means yet. And they will, though. They're going to learn what that means as on my YouTube channel, I begin putting together the pieces to the puzzle. So let's see. Haven't left anything out here. Yep. Okay. I just want to see if people are understanding what I've said up to this point before I move into the next step. Just give me a thumbs up, okay? Thumbs up, thumbs up. Everyone, every single person's thumb is up. So I feel really good about this. Okay, so let's see. All right, so in my notes here, I say when enough people have my tools to end their deep-rooted following mode and can sit with the image of the new system as I lay out in the new world and touch on in my public YouTube channel, they will release their dependence on leaders. Okay, I have that in my notes, but I want to go a step further. Because I've gone out, I've got the 2 million searchers of the world. I want to start a wave through word of mouth, and it begins with you. This is how this is going to happen. We need to work together on this. You are, how do I put it? You are my energy bursts. I'm just going to, that thought just came in my head right now. You're my energy burst. It's like I'm one guy and I have my energy I put out there into the world. But I have you, who I call metaphorically my 300, and you go out in the world. And so you're my energy burst out there. So we must work together in this. I'm counting on you to bring people, not only bring people to the Mark Hamilton YouTube channel as it grows. And as I said, we did our first podcast yesterday, but this is going to really spread as in the future as I go on larger podcasts as a guest, and we get this in front of eyes of millions of people down the road. It's all part of the process. But I want to start a wave. I want to start a wave that just goes across the world. And let's have you and me as the boom, the earthquake that starts the tsunami, right? We're going to start this together. The way to do this is to begin to reach out to your family. You know, in the past, don't talk to family about neothink or neotech. They're going to disown you. They're going to say you're in a cult, right? So we've been so cautious to talk to anybody. And instead, you just look forward to my letters and read my books. But now things will change because we're on a more surface level, such as my YouTube channel. We're Neothink light, so to speak. And this technique I'm going to give you is going to open doors that have been slammed in your face in the past. So it's time for you to begin to talk to people. Like I said, to family, to friends, to coworkers, to friends on your Facebook page, perhaps. And what you're going to do is you're not going to tell them anything about Neothink or Neotech, nothing. You're going to instead just talk to them about an interesting subject, something that you learned recently, called the following mode. But you're not going to give them all the background that I've given you because you're very well read. You understand about the bicameral mentality, about Julian Jaynes, where that all came from. And wait, I got to slam on the brakes and just say something here before I move on with this process. I recently, for those of you who are on Ascension, and I think most of you here are, I do a daily, as you know, daily motivation. And I recently did a daily motivation talking about how the academia protects their ideas. And so when something comes along, which is the nature of progress, comes along that maybe replaces their ideas or challenges their ideas, they don't let them in. They push them away. They get rid of them. They parry, boom, gone, new ideas. So this is so insane to me. And they're part of your external authorities, right? The academia, the academe. They're the experts out there, right? Well, let me tell you, I have a mind that works very differently than most people. I also wrote about this in a daily motivation, and I attribute that to my upbringing with my father. But I can see right through to reality. And once I see it, it locks in my mind and my brain like a mathematical proof. It's in there. And no matter what any expert tells me, I know what's reality and what's not, or what's hedged upon. So Ayn Rand and her objectivism philosophy, and Julian Jaynes and his bicameral mind breakthroughs are giants. They're giants, as I say in my daily motivation, to the advancement of human psychology. They're giants. But those two giants are ignored or even looked down upon by the expert, the academia. Okay, so I just want to put that out there so you all are aware of this. Now, when you go and talk to your friends during this, back to this process now, your friends, your family, you don't need to bring up Julian Jaynes because they'll just go on their phone, Google, and say, no one believes in Julian Jaynes anymore, right? And they'll just dismiss him because the academia does. They elbow him out because his stuff is so real. There's so much reality that replaces so much what the academia have invested their whole lives in or decades in. So it's easy just to elbow him out. So don't even bring up don't bring up Julian Jaynes. Don't bring up the bicameral man. That's TMI. That's too much information. Instead, just tell them what I told you last month. That as babies, we start off in a following mode by learned mimicked reactions. Very simple. You mimic your parents. All animals do this. Mother Nature put that in us. So we mimic our older siblings, and as we start getting more conscious, we mimic the world around us. But we never fully leave that following mode. We never fully leave it. Now, a few of us have. And it's a chain. It's a chain that goes all the way back to our bicameral days. And there's a reason a few of us have been able to break through it. Well, of course, number one is honesty and effort. But man, it takes a lot of honesty and effort to break from the following mode because we're so ensconced in it. And why are we so ensconced in it? Well, because the whole world around us is. So that's just the way it is, right? That's just the way it is. If you had someone from another planet who's more advanced come here, they would look at us the way we would look at the bicameral man if we went back to the bicameral civilizations 3,000 years ago. And we'd look at them and say, they're in a trance. They're automatons. They have no subjective thinking, no inner mind space, no ability to subjectively view the world. They're just automatons. Well, if you had a Neothink civilization come here to Earth, they would look at us and say, it's the oddest thing I've ever seen. I mean, these people are conscious, but wow, they're walking around like they're still bicameral. What's up with this? That's the reaction you would see. That's how I do feel when I observe society today. And it's very frustrating. Very frustrating. That's why I'm very glad to have people like you in my circle. So we're going to do something about this. We're going to make it fun, right? We can't approach them with honesty and effort, mysticism, your mystical bubbles. We can't approach our family, friends, coworkers. We can't approach them like that, but we can have fun. We can go with them and say, hey, you know, Mother Nature made us all followers. We don't tell them that there's a chain back to the bicameral day. We just say, when you were little, your first introduction to waking up your brains was mimicking, and everyone just kind of stays in that following mode. Oh yeah, no, not me. No, I'm my own person. Well, let's take a little quiz. And you ask them some innocent questions. But now be sure you don't do this as a challenge, like you're challenging them. Oh yeah, no, I'm going to show you you're still in the following mode. You're going to say, well, I read about this. I did this little quiz on myself, and man, blew me away. I didn't realize how much I'm still in the following mode. So here's the quiz. And you can change this, add to it, take some of the stuff out, but this is just a little thing I just jotted down real quick. Let me see my little quiz here. Do you easily believe what you read on Google searches? That's just a question. This is just a little quiz you're giving them. And I said, well, yeah, I believe it. I mean, that's where all the information is on Google. Right, I know. And then dig a little deeper now that there's been some demonstration to the opposite. You can say, the next question could be, hey, think back to the pandemic. Did you believe your Google searches about COVID, everything you read on Google back then? Now, you know, a lot of that stuff's been demonstrated that reality was buried in their algorithms. And we were just fed what Fauci wanted you to know. Our external authorities, the educated elite wanted us to know, the experts, the CDC. Okay, now we know a lot of that's been proven was bunk that we were fed, because we were fed a narrative by our external authorities. But, you know, do everything with a smile on your face. Don't get passionate like I just did. And smile and say, do you remember that? Right? And you can point out, you know, we've learned a lot since then, that a lot of that was inaccurate, and a lot of that was misinformation. That was a narrative that our politicians want us to believe. And by the way, most people, even if they don't know about Neothink, they still don't like politicians. Okay, even the non-searchers, even those who are really trapped in a narrow, limited, specialized world, basically people don't like politicians because their right brain, remember, the right brain is giving them feelings. And their right brain, when they wake up in the morning, sometimes say, God damn, my taxes, or the inflation, my money is worth 25% less than it was 3 years ago. Those are feelings the right brain's feeding them. So they will be down with you to do this little quiz. They'll be on your side. They'll say, hell yeah. Yeah, I was listening to these disgusting experts, right? Because their right brain is telling them to pay attention. Here's another question in the quiz I just jotted down. Do you ever question your teachers teaching your kids? Do you ever do that? Especially in the area of history. My goodness. Do you ever question that? Just ask them. Do you ever question it? No, no, my kids have great teachers. You know, one thing I found, there was one point that I came very close to buying a private school and establishing a Neothink education. Came very close. Didn't make that move, but came very close to doing it. And one thing I learned through that process was this, that parents will in general say education is not good out there. But when it comes to their classes for their children, their teachers, their school, they'll always say, no, it's great here. It's really good here. It's not good out there. But my kids have great teachers because they, especially in private schools where you meet the teachers and you spend time with them, you develop a personal, friendly relationship with them. So you're not going to think badly of them. So keep that in mind, but do ask them, do you ever question what the teachers are teaching your kids? See what they say. Here's another question in the quiz. Do you feel pressured to go with the prevailing positions on subjects? I don't like the way I worded that. It's a little complicated. Let's see. Do you feel that going against the social current is hard? Even in a crowd, even with your friends? Is it difficult when your friends are all going a certain direction for you to speak up and say something that goes against the current of that conversation? Because I can tell you it is difficult. It's even difficult for self-leaders. But there does come a point where you must speak up. Not always, because you're out having a great time over dinner or what have you, and then all of a sudden you're in this sort of confrontational discussion. A lot of times I let it go. I know I've told you in the past. Maybe it was in my writings, but I recall saying this, that I don't always confront every situation because I know what the situation is. And there's no reason I have to prove myself to anyone else. I know what the situation is. I don't have to prove to you it's that way. Maybe it was last month. You know, what was I talking about? I brought up about my father when he wrote an addendum to his poker book, and he was in the casinos and doing research, and he realized there was a collusion. He was in the card clubs in Gardena at the time, California, and he realized these guys, and since then there's been a movie on this, after my father identified this, these guys at this table, there was collusion going on. In fact, there was collusion going on everywhere, but you couldn't provide evidence of it. But their betting patterns were opposite of where they should be with the presentation of the cards and the people and so on and so forth. So he knew, but he didn't have to prove to anyone. He knew it himself. So you don't have to go out and prove. Sometimes you don't have the evidence. Maybe you're trying to prove to a friend that you shouldn't take that booster shot, but you can't get to the information. So there are other ways. I know in my writings, I won't take the time. It's like a 10-minute discussion, but inside Mark's Mind, I talk about this quite a bit. I think in month 2. So realize that it is difficult and unpleasant, but ask yourself, if it were a completely necessary moment for you to go against crowd think, go against the crowd, or go against your friends, would you do it? Would you do it? Be honest. Ask yourself. And this is what you want to present to them. Say, you don't have to answer me, but think about it. Ask yourself, could you do that? Could you go against your friends if it was a really important reason to? Here's another question. Do you feel you learn about the world from fill in the blank, from the news, TikTok, Instagram? Do you feel you learn about the world through these mediums? That's a question. Because I can tell you, if you do, you are in the following mode. Did you listen to the CDC recommendations during COVID and believe hook, line, and sinker that the CDC recommendations were all rational? Did you never question it with your own mind? Did you believe Fauci, even when he started contradicting himself? You know, it blew me away when Fauci was contradicting himself. It became very obvious to me what was going on. But then I would have friends. Look, I had a friend who's a top surgeon in the country who was telling me that these idiots who don't get their booster shot, I shouldn't even have to operate on them when they come in. I shouldn't even have to touch them because they were such idiots. I look at him and say, wow, wow. I honestly, I haven't looked at him the same since, honestly. So did you believe Fauci, even when he was contradicting himself, even when he was causing your children or your grandchildren not to go to school, to wear masks, when they were completely out of reach of any harm from the virus? Did you believe, wait, what's this? Did you believe I was okay when big tech would take down? Yeah. Did you believe that it was okay when big tech would take down really well integrated from solid sources, take things down and remove them off their platform as misinformation and actually close up or block people's accounts? Were you okay with that? Ask your friends, hey, were you okay with that? You have to shed your 2024 skin and go back to your 2020 days and ask, were you okay with that? Because these are signs that they are in the following mode. Now, you can add more to the quiz, but I think this is more than enough to open their eyes to the possibility that they are indeed stuck in the following mode, at least to some degree. Now, their ego will get involved. If you say, oh, you're not a self-leader, don't say that. Just say, I want to demonstrate to you that we are all, include yourself, make it easier on them. We're all kind of in a following mode. I've read about this recently. It's very interesting what I'm reading about. Well, who is it who, well, look, why don't you just go to his YouTube channel and check it out for yourself? That can start getting them involved. Or go sign up for his free newsletter. My free newsletter, and I think you all are subscribed to that. You just go to neothink.com and sign up for it. It's really easy. It's really easy I'm designing it for the non-searchers out there as well. It's real easy to absorb the information on that newsletter. That could be a start. But when they begin to realize, oh my goodness, yeah, I am in a following mode, largely so, then you have an in with these people. You have an opportunity with these people. Now, realize you've been reading my material, well, many of you for decades. So it's not an aha moment, a eureka, when I talked to you last month and this month. It could be like, wow, that's very interesting. But to your friends, to your family, to your friends on Facebook, it could be an absolute eureka moment for them. And once you triggered that, you've tipped over a domino that's going to continue to spread, because you have an agenda, I have an agenda, they don't. So if it's just pure, spontaneous aha moment, they're not going to be able to keep their mouths shut about it. It's like tipping over that domino. This is how we start the wave. That gives you the opening to talk a little bit more about something they totally agree with you, these damn politicians who are screwing up our lives. This increasingly destructive ruling class that's ruining our children's education, that's controlling our lives, that's taxing us away with inflation, that's causing us to lose our wealth. It opens the door for you to start talking about these things. So, yeah, so just looking through my notes here. Let's see. Yeah, talked about, wait, what's this? The examples. Yeah, some of the examples that I gave you on the quiz have become blazingly obvious. The authorities are in it for power and glory. Hey, that's all they're in it for. Now you take your powerful business leaders not your political businessmen. Let's keep that straight, but your true market businessmen. And are they in it for power and glory? I'm going to tell you the answer is no, they are not. They're in it because they love what they do and they want to do more of it. I think one of the best examples is Steve Jobs. He just loved what even when it cost his company money, he just did it the way he wanted it done because he loved it. So this can be really an eye-opening experience. Remember, you're not discussing politics initially. You're just saying, hey, you're in a following mode. You're not going to argue Democrats versus Republicans. Now, I did put up a video on my YouTube. I talk about pH balance. And I am still involved in politics from that standpoint. When something goes too far right or too far left, it's going to kill the country. It's going to kill the organism. Think of it as a human being in your pH balance. So you got to pull it back to the middle. That's how you have to survive in this holy war, I call it, is to try to keep things as healthy as you possibly can. But you don't need to get in and talk about Democrats versus Republicans. That's not the point. You need to get in there and tell them you are in a following mode. Let me help you see that. And then from there, it opens the door to start talking about those disgusting politicians who are taxing us to death. All right. So that point will come. Control over our lives. Yeah, then you can start getting into how they control our lives. Then they're going to be a little bit open and interested in this. You get into how the control of our lives from government, media, big tech, big pharma, our education system, our children, what that's doing to them. People following mode brings forth that ruling class, brings forth our leaders. Let's think differently now. Let's think different. Let's neo-think. Hey, I know something about neo-think that shows us how to think differently. At that point, you could even send them to the Mark Hamilton YouTube channel and say, hey, there's a nice little free course on Mark Hamilton's YouTube page. It's called The Neo-Think Mentality. It's a course, it's 12 videos, and it's free. Hey, if you want to learn something about how to gain more power now that you understand about this following mode, and now that you want to learn about, there's another mode of thinking. It's called neo-think, the neo-think mentality. You can go there. Now they're going to go there with a little interest, right? With a little push, a little fire under them. And see where that leads. Okay. So breaking away from that, introduce them to neo-think, to the free course. I explained to you that for 45 years since I published my first book, we've been a private club. Now it's time to go public and send this wave across the entire world, starting with you. What a satisfaction that's going to give you when this spreads across the world and you know you are the epicenter of all of this, you and me. I think I'm wrapping it up here. I'm just going to scroll through notes, make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, you're not bashing politicians. You're just exposing them to the following mode. Oh, that's such an important point. They don't need to get on YouTube or their social media and start bashing. Don't do that. That's their game. Instead, go on social. If they want to go on social media, they can start talking about breaking yourself free from the following mode so we don't need those politicians taxing the hell out of our lives. We just withdraw and the illusion will vanish. Make it fun. Have fun with it. It bypasses their defensiveness. And by the way, that's why originally my initial book that you would receive when you would receive my first letter was a nonfiction. It was Neo-Think 1 with a 1 key on it. And that was the way to ease them into, the business techniques, the self-help. The searchers are looking to improve themselves. And that gave a lot of good material to break free of that. But eventually, and then you had Neo-Think 2, which got the 2 keys that got more into business. And then you had Neo-Think 3, which was the Miss Annabelle story, super puzzle. that was a nice flow, but eventually I changed that as a lot of you know, and Neothink 3 became the first book I fulfilled. And the reason for that is when it's in sort of a fun mode, a novel, of course, we understand it was faction, but in sort of this novel format, then their defenses don't come up and start blocking out things that go up against their belief system. Sort of like the academia, elbows out Julian Jaynes and Ayn Rand. But with Miss Annabelle's story, just everything, it's all emotion-based. It just goes right on in. And then I come in with the more aggressive, now we have the New World, which gets in the whole political following mode, and the Neothink 1 and 2, which is now called The Secrets. So let's get your friends, your family, your Facebook friends to have that aha experience. Aha, wow, Mother Nature did instill in me a following mode that I still largely use today. And then you can, with wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, now you can talk a little bit more aggressively about Neothink. Hey, I read these books, they're called Neothink books, that really have accelerated my personal success in life, whatever that might be. Those of you in Ascension saw my post on Friday about wealth, what wealth really is to you. Wealth is what is wonderful to you. And you could be happy and wide-eyed and bushy-tailed. Now, if you tried to do that straight off, you're in a cult. Don't talk to me about it. But if you do it through this process, it's a process, my friends. It's a process. Then they're going to say, yeah, which Neothink book do you recommend I take a look at? Because I want to break free of the following mode, and I want what's wonderful in my life too. You see the process? We don't go up and bang, and you guys have been heroes in your life. You tried to tell people you were chipping away at that wall. Some of you guys might have even been lifting a boulder or two, but it didn't get you anywhere. This is how you get there. It's counterintuitive. It's the opposite of what everyone's always done. Then you can introduce them to Mark Hamilton. Now they don't think of me as a guru or, some kind of a bizarre cult leader. They don't think of me that way anymore as you present it the way that I've told you here today. They can get my newsletter and they can warm up to Mark Hamilton. Then they're ready to read the Super Puzzle. And then they want more. As you go through this process, each person will become easier and smoother than the last. This is the Neothink movement truly at work in your hands. Again, when we started this, I thought long and hard of what the title of this private club would be. And I said it was the Neothink movement with a lot of foresight to today and what I'm discussing with you right now. As this spreads, people will mentally and emotionally, that's the key, emotionally stop needing external authorities. As the sentiment spreads, the massive wall of collapse rocks, that big mess out there. How do you go about getting rid of it? Well, it will just begin to vanish. It will begin to vanish. People will no longer even care about such bogus leaders and influencers. The power granted them will just weaken and eventually evaporate. Sounds huge, but movements do happen in waves. And this is what we're starting. You are the epicenter. And then the world that I painted for you in my 1,200-page trilogy, Super Puzzle, well, then that's the world we will enter. We'll have lived, I see you clapping there, Alicia. We'll have lived to see the sea of you on earth. And this is something we've all always wanted, myself included. And, I reached a point where I thought, it's not going to happen, but I can't stop. I need to keep going. But now I see, and this is why I'm here going public with you. Now I can see this actually happening. And we don't know how soon, but it could be within all of our lifetimes. And that's the goal here. That is the goal. Right, Sue? That's the goal. All right, so it all starts with you. Talking to others about the following mode. I'm doing my work. I'm getting things out there. I'm pulling together the integrations. I'm putting together the pieces. You need to bring people to me now. We need to guide them to Neothink, to me. As I said in January, you're my warriors, and this battle of the mind begins today, now with you. So keep that in mind, that the notion of, instead of going after the external authorities, which perhaps you've always done, instead, we're just going to withdraw, pull away from them. It's so beautiful when you see it in the bigger picture. After my talk, just sit there with it for a minute and imagine what I'm telling you right now. We're not going after them. We're withdrawing our support. It's a beautiful thing. And this is something that could catch on and spread across the world. So let's see. Thank you, thank you, thank you for the claps and the thumbs up I'm seeing here. Thank you so much. This is exciting. And let me just scroll through some notes, make sure I didn't miss anything I need to cover today. I said this earlier. I'm going to repeat myself here. Going after them, the external authorities, actually gives them power. It's such an ironic thing because it gives them the power of resisting you. They can resist you. They have all the tools and they have the ultimate power with initiatory force. So us going up against them, it gives them power. But whereby withdrawing from them just strikes fear in their hearts because we're not following them anymore. You're done. Goodbye. So the more who pull back from the external authorities, the less power they have. This pulling back is the opposite of what anyone would ever suspect. It's the opposite of what anyone's ever done. It's the beginning of something new. It's the move that will evaporate their wall of rocks, their wall of illusions holding us in this cave called the anti-civilization. So once thank you. Once a person begins to break free from the following mode with the Neothink tools, they can carry that with them and bring it to other people. It's going to be a beautiful thing. Are you ready? I want to look around. Who's ready? Oh my God, look at that. I see thumbs up everywhere I look. It's beautiful. That's beautiful. Wow, look at, oh good. My son's moving me through all of you. I'm seeing everyone here. This is fantastic. Thumbs up, thumbs up. Wow. All right, look at that. Hello, hello. Oh my gosh, what was that? What was Josh sending me back there? What was that, Josh?
That's a reaction with an effect.
Very cool. Wow, I thought for a minute there I was tapping into your mind power. Wow. Hi, Graciola. Hi, everyone. Okay. Hi, Aaron. Hi, Wally, or Wallace, sorry. Put me back on my notes. I think there's a couple other things I needed to cover. Okay, we got through all this. You ready? Yes, you just told me you're ready. So here it is. Civilization does not need a political system. I want you all to be looking closely for the podcast, debut podcast. As I said with Wallace, we did it yesterday. It'll be about an hour long because in there I really get into what the other dimension is. Because what we're leaving behind is all we've ever known. We've only known a political system. We've never known anything else. We've never known a business system, a society that runs through business. But those of you who own Wealth, Health, and Peace, a book I did quite some years ago, and those of you who own The New World and look at the Daniel section toward the end, it's about half of that 650-page book, you see in there that business system and how we've never had that business system and how nothing on earth ever properly reflected what that business system would be. Because as I said, it's always been in the political system, business and politics are this. It's never business system. It's like this. You've never seen pure capitalism. And because of that, capitalism has a really bad rap. They go back to the Industrial Revolution and say the rich company owners were taking advantage of the workers, and they were like slave labor and so on. You know, a lot of that is because the government would team up with the big businesses, and together they would generate regulations that stopped competition from rising up from the smaller, more honest self-leaders who would take away market shares from the big business. Big business and government in this system are like this. And that's why when you go on my YouTube channel, you see so many people battling me saying, no, no, you have it all wrong. Business is bad. They take advantage. I know where they're coming from. They know not what they say. They know not what they do. Pure capitalism has never been experienced. It has a bad name because of what I just described to you, and much more I won't go into detail with right now. But this business system is going to be just something amazingly beautiful. There will be no more poverty. People who have read The New World or Wealth, Health, and Peace see the reasons behind this. There'll be no more taxes. You'll tithe 10% of your earnings to something, if we decide to have something there that we'll call government, just because it makes it easier for our mind, but they're not government. Anyone can rise up and replace them. Basically, it's a division of labor that we are assigning to someone we have faith in. Another daily motivation I just put on Ascension about legitimate faith, real faith, because you trust someone or you trust something, as opposed to blind faith where you're just a follower. Okay. So business has a bad rap out there. It's going to be our job. It's going to be my job to really fix that. And it's hard to fix because no one's ever seen it. No one's seen the true business system. It's never existed on earth, but it's going to be my job, building puzzle piece by puzzle piece, being very patient with this to bring it all together, to bring the puzzle together, to snap the pieces down so people can see and feel what's coming. All right, let's see. Covers that. Yeah, okay. Crime law to America, the 28th Amendment, that would be the soonest thing. People have asked, oh, wow, if we don't have a political system, what about military? What about court systems? What about police? What about protection? Well, that's all covered again in the New World, but just, I'm seeing some thumbs up there, but just quickly, it will be so much better and more efficient when done by private companies where your dollar, whatever currency we have, is doing the voting, not people who are brainwashed or with propaganda to vote for this person or that person. Your dollars are going to bring out the most effective and efficient safety mechanisms and regulations, private companies with private regulations. Everything's going to work so much better than in a political system. Yeah, I won't go more into that. I have some things to say there, but we'll hold that for another time. Okay, so yeah, that wraps it up. That covers everything. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, okay, so I think I covered everything. I'm just looking at some notes here. Yeah, I told him about our podcast. My son's right here with me. Want to say hi?
Hey, everybody.
He's my right-hand man right here.
How's it going?
Hey, since he's here, let me just add one more thing. The chain, right? The chain back to the bicameral civilization. Why doesn't it ever break? Well, I'm here to say it broke with me, right? With my father, it broke with me. I'm not a follower. This is how I can provide you with the NeoThink books. And it broke with my kids. It broke with them. And why is that? It's because when they grow up, when kids grow up, they just see what's around them and they just fit in. Why not? They just fit into what's there. They know nothing else. But if you, this will give you some real motivation to what I talked to you about today. If you talk to some younger folks who are at the childbearing years, starting a family, and you enlighten them to the following mode, what's going to happen if they break from it? You have saved their children. Because when their children grow up, they see their father, their mother in a integrating mode, not in a following mode. They're going to flow right into that themselves. And that's how you break the chain with the parents. So this is some real motivation for you to talk to the younger generation when they're entering, getting married, going to start a family. These are the people who we really want to reach and break from the following mode so their children can break from the following mode, and we break the chain, the bicameral chain. So
Sounds like the positive form of mimicked reactions.
there you go. But they'll see you're integrating now and not, right? They'll see you're integrating and how to do that. They'll learn to break free of the greatest scourge of mankind, and their lives will be so much better.